howdy do, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome to episode 309.
Yeah.
One day I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator. I could retire and do that.
I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Hey, Doctor Who fans. Welcome back to another week, another episode of the Big Blue Box. It's good to have you here. Hope you've all had a cracking week and you've managed to do something Doctor Who related.
Yeah.
Indeedy. Welcome back. It's good to have you here for another week. You can find us on any podcast app that you listen to your podcast on. Just do a search for the Big Blue Box or nip over to the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can find links off to those apps there. Plus, we're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Links on the website. We have a free Discord server. A link on the website to that as well. Nip over and sign up and hang out with Doctor Who fans there. And sign up to and subscribe to the YouTube channel for the live streams, which will be back this Saturday. My co-host is here as always, Mr. Adam, Mr. Geek's Handbag. You can find him on YouTube as well, under the Geek's Handbag. Go and check out all of that stuff. How are you doing, buddy? You all good?
Good morning. Yes, I'm very good. Thank you. Very good.
Yep.
I've been looking forward to this one, to Logopolis, what we're doing today. This has been one that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I'm raring to go on this review.
Yes, Logopolis. It's going to be an interesting one.
Logopolis,
to go through that, yes. Dude, we had some good news this week. A certain event is coming back, which I know you're excited for, right?
Yeah, I'm delighted. So, with everything being so uncertain at the minute, we didn't know where we were going with events and things. And the BFI have announced they're going to be doing an event showing Dragonfire. So that's going to be really cool. I think it's June or July. I can't remember now. So it's good. The BFI Doctor Who events are kicking off again. And, Dragonfire, not one of my favourite stories, but I love the McCoy era. And I just think those events are so good. So I'm going to desperately try and get a ticket for it. I think it's going to be really difficult because I'd imagine, do you think they're going to sort of socially distance the theatres, or because it's quite hard to get tickets normally. They normally sell out really quickly. But I'm thinking if they're also adding to that social distancing, the seats, is it going to be really difficult to get a ticket? I don't know. But anyway, great news. I'm really pleased they've started up again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Good news. Yeah, I think it's in June. I think it's I can't go, unfortunately.
You can't go?
No.
How come?
No, because it's my birthday weekend sort of stuff that I've got planned to do that weekend. It's it's on the 12th of June.
12th of June, there you go.
Yeah, it's my B-day a few days before, so I'm busy that weekend, unfortunately. But yeah, tickets go on sale if you remember, I think it's early May, like the 3rd or 4th of May. So soon. But yeah, should be good, dude. The old BFI events, they're always good.
They are good. I don't know if they sometimes have some of the, they normally have like a discussion panel, some of the stars from the show. I don't know if like Sophie or Bonnie or even Sylve might turn up, but they normally have something, before and after. And they show you little exclusive clips from the upcoming, because this is all to sort of celebrate the season 24 Blu-ray set that's coming out. So they'll show you a few exclusive little clips, and yeah, those events are brilliant. So yeah, hopefully, I'm really sad you can't be there, mate. Well, that would have been the perfect birthday celebration. Well, that would have been a major mashup.
It would have been good. Yeah, it would have been very good. Yeah. So
can you just bring all the guys you're meeting up with? Come on down to the BFI to the bar.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be in London. Well, if I was in London, dude, then I would have defo just come over. Even if I wasn't at the event, I would have just come over to the bar and whatnot. But yeah, sad times. But it will be an interesting one to watch as well, Dragonfire, because it's always we have reviewed it, haven't we? Let me just make sure I'm not going to give away any spoilers.
We did. I can't remember when, but
yeah. But Dragonfire is a weird one, isn't it? Because back in episode 194 we did it. Because it crosses that line, doesn't it? With it's got that weird. It's got a weird fact. It's got like kind of 80s weirdness to it to a degree, but at the same time, it's still got that sort of early McCoy stuff.
Yeah,
before they kicked off, sort of midway through series 25, when they started to go down the slightly darker route with him. It's got that early kind of goofy McCoy, isn't it? Which is really cool.
I just want to see the face melt on the big screen. Kane's face melt. I still to this day can't believe they did that for the time it was shown. But yeah, no, that's really good. It's going to be a great event. So yeah, definitely going to try and get tickets for that. I haven't done much else this week, really. I listened to Dalek Universe 1, but the Tennant, the Tennant one, not the prequel, which was very good. Being a Tennant fan yourself, I really recommend it. Really good fun, nice twist in the middle for part 2. I wondered it was like one of those what's going on moments. So yeah, they've really sort of put some effort into it, and I'm looking forward to the second box set. But that has been pretty much it for me this week.
Cool. Oh, I did. Yeah, I haven't been up to much other than that. So other than cracking through Logopolis, I was going to watch the features, but I remember watching those not super recently, but I remember them anyway. I wasn't going to watch the features, but I watched this 2 and 2. I don't know about you, but
yeah, no, I actually watched it 2 and 2. I did watch the features because there's some of my favourite features actually. So there's the raw studio footage of Tom, which amazes me. They've still got all that, and I love it. So you get to see really raw studio footage of Tom filming his regeneration scene, the Watcher coming in, then Davison coming in. It's really fascinating to watch, and just to see the zone that Tom's in. He's really subdued and quiet, and then he's sort of a bit jokey. It's fascinating, and there's some great behind the scenes documentaries on the Logopolis disc. So I watch those as well. I really enjoy them because they talk about the change and what was going on behind the scenes. Really good documentaries on this one. So yeah, I gave them a watch as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, well, without further ado, then, we have no news to talk about this week. There was a couple of little bits knocking around, but nothing really worthy to talk about. John Bishop getting a telling off. That story seems to be coming back into the news for some reason, which is really weird. And just very quickly, John Barrowman and David Bradley have filmed little cameos for the upcoming Time Fracture theatrical experience thing. So we don't know anything about it. It's just some photos that were put out on the Twitter feed from those guys. But other than that, no other news really worthy to talk about, dude, in any great detail. So we shall crack on. Let's do it. What's on for review this week, buddy?
Yeah, so it's the end of the Tom Baker month, and it's the end of the Tom Baker era. But the moment has been prepared for. It is, of course, Logopolis.
It's the end. But the moment has been prepared for. This is something far too serious. My dear Doctor, Logopolis is honored by your visit.
Peoples of the universe, please attend carefully. The message that follows is vital to the future of you all.
Master's escaped from Traga. But why take Nissa's father?
To renew himself. He was very near the end of his 12th regeneration. The Master's already at work on Logopolis. I'm going to stop him if it's the last thing I do.
You killed my father.
But his body remains useful. Without it, I could not have conquered Logopolis.
This is not conquest, it's devastation.
It's nothing more than a blanket of silence.
Which is killing the Logopolitans and turning them to dust.
You expect me to believe?
Yes!
You are destroying everything.
Good trailer, that one.
Oh, Tom. Yeah, great trailer, that.
Oh, Tom.
Oh, no.
So Logopolis was first... Logopolis was first broadcast back in the 28th of February. Part 1 went out on the 28th of February and then finished up. It's a 4-parter, finished up 4 weeks later on the 21st of March in 1981. It was directed by Peter Grimwade, written by Christopher Bidmead and overseen by John Nathan Turner. Stars Tom Baker, obviously, as the Doctor, with Matthew Waterhouse, Sarah Sutton and Jeanette Fielding, with about 5 or 6 supporting cast members. And the synopsis for this one is the Doctor goes to Logopolis to repair the TARDIS's chameleon circuit, not knowing that a shadowy watcher is spying on him. Meanwhile, his old enemy, the Master, has only recently gained secure longevity by possessing the body of Tremus and revels in his safety. As he has plans of his own for the planet of mathematicians, Logopolis, and a plan that could spell doom for the entire universe. The Master's plan could rock Logopolis, the keystone of all life. Could this mean the unravelling of the causal nexus and the end of the universe itself? The Doctor must pit his wits against the Master in a desperate battle to thwart his plans, but he is aware that this might be a fight which could easily spell the end of his life. Serious stuff.
Really serious stuff, yeah.
Indeedy. Okay, dude. Now that we've wiped away the initial tears, what are your thoughts on Logopolis?
Logopolis. I can barely contain my excitement. I absolutely love this story. I love it to bits. It's one of my favourite Doctor Who's. And not because necessarily it's the best story, because if you start to look too closely at a lot of the stuff that happens in it, a lot of it doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm well aware of that. But it's one of my earliest memories of Doctor Who. I've probably watched this more than any other Doctor Who. I just never tire of watching it. It sounds quite sort of boring on paper, I think. I don't know, but something about it I just really enjoy it. The TARDIS within a TARDIS, the TARDIS team coming together with Nyssa, Adric and Tegan, Aunt Vanessa, the Master, Logopolis itself. There's just something about the story and the music as well. I think the music's brilliant in this. It's so funky. And of course it's Tom's last story, so it's a regeneration story, which I think they're always important, aren't they, to Doctor Who fan, a regeneration story. And bearing in mind that, so what year was this? 81?
Yeah. Yep.
So I was 6 when I watched this, and there was no sort of DVDs or iPlayer when I was 6, so I remembered the Watcher, I remembered the TARDIS, I remembered the cloister rooms. Those images stuck in my mind for years. And I think it's, really got me into Doctor Who. I was fascinated by this, by what the images I saw on screen. I wouldn't have understood the story at 6. I mean, I probably but something about this. And the thing that I remember most as a kid was the shrinking TARDIS. I can clearly see that image just stuck in my mind so clearly, of the Doctor in the shrinking TARDIS. So those images stuck in my mind. All those years later, I bought the VHS, watched it again, fell in love with it. Then you get the DVDs, then you get to see all the extras, going on years. And I've just fallen in love with it again and again and again every time I watch it, because something about it really stuck with me as a kid. It really did, and I just love it. So despite all its faults, despite some of the craziness of what's going on, like the Doctor trying to flood the TARDIS, which is absolutely ridiculous. The Master just seems to be I don't know what the Master's doing for the first 2 episodes. He keeps materializing in different parts of the TARDIS and doing a manic laugh and then disappearing again. I mean, there are so many things that don't make sense in it, but I don't care. I could watch this over and over again. I love it. I think it's a great end to Tom's era.
Interesting.
Yeah. Don't you dare. Ron Sinclair, don't you dare. You better like it, or this is the end of the this is the end of the Blue Box podcast. It's not just the world.
I do like it.
Yes.
I do like it, but I can't help but feel disappointed.
Oh no.
In a big way with Logopolis.
Really?
Yeah. If I'm being 100% honest, I do like it.
No, let's be honest. Yeah, let's be honest.
Yeah, I do like it. It's a very cool bit of classic Who, defo. I just feel that it's probably one of the most underwhelming kind of missed opportunities we've ever seen for a Doctor's departure in Doctor Who.
How come?
Yeah, because if you think about, I don't know, if you think about at this point in time, we're in the early 80s now, and Tom's been the Doctor for quite a long time at this point.
7 years, I think it was, yeah.
After 7 years as being the Doctor, this is your exit. I'm not surprised.
From a satellite. He falls from a space station dish.
Yeah, but I'm not surprised that. I'm really not surprised that Tom had the hump and was angry a lot of the time. Because I know he was angry because he was going and didn't want to really go, but from his point of view, you can absolutely see why he was. He had the hump because I just feel, because if you think about some of the middle of Tom's run up to the beginning of it and so on, and when we get into series 14 and 15 especially, and before we get on to series 16, which is the Key to Time, for me that's the turning point really in Tom's run. So when the Key to Time starts with the Ribus operation, there seems to be a bit of a shift in how Tom is as the Doctor.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
Previous to that point, especially series 13 and 14, he's just absolutely on fire, isn't he? As we know, as the Doctor. So I feel like by the time we get to Logopolis, just all of the spark and fun and everything has just been sucked out of the show, and we just end up with this ending for the longest running Doctor at that point. We just end up with this ending that's like, it's just really melancholy and down in the dumps and stuff. And at the end, it's, oh no, I hate bashing it, but at the end where he's just laying on the grass and it's a beautiful moment from a certain point of view, and the music's lovely and everything. And I love the whole Doctor, recaps all of that stuff.
I'll pay for this. Yeah.
But at the same time, when it ends, I'm just like, I feel like I want to go and get in the bath and just cry for a little while. And I think
it's a bit downbeat, is it for you?
Honestly, mate, yeah. Once this one's ended, I just honestly feel like, right, I need to go and watch some cartoons or something, or I need to go and watch some stand-up comedy or something like that. Because, mate, at the end of it, this is not how you send off arguably the most popular, longest running Doctor in classic Who. But even at this point, when we're, Pertwee had a fairly decent run, as did Hartnell and so on. But this is like the height of like classic Doctor Who. This is so. Yeah, I do like it. It's not a bad watch, but I find it a combination of incredibly just. Oh God, mate! I hate saying it. I find it just a combination of a bit of boredom, complete and unnecessary techno babble throughout the entire thing.
There is a lot of techno babble. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and also the ending, mate. In my opinion, Tom's Doctor should have gone out in all sorts of exciting There's loads of ways they could have sent him out. To me, this is just, even just the direction. That's when they came on to that final scene, which we'll come on to in a bit more detail, I'm sure. But even when we get to the last bit, all Peter Grimwade had to say was, just lay down there. There's a bit of grass there, a bit of fake grass, just lay down. And then, but there's nothing to it. It's just, and I know sometimes simple is beautiful. I get that, but I don't know, mate. This should have been like a belter of a regen story, but it ends up being just, I just want to cry for a little while afterwards.
I was going to say, you talk about the direction in that scene. I wonder if, because when you watch the footage, the behind the scenes footage, Tom is just, well, at the start he's just hardly speaking. He just looks really deep in thought. He's laying on the floor and you think, gosh, what's going through his mind? And then they sort of start setting up the scenes. So like Matthew, Sarah and Janet sit around him ready to set up the shot. And all the director says to Tom is, Tom, could you just put your arm up and beckon the watcher? Tom explodes. Beckon? I don't know anything about a beckon. Does he insist on me doing a beckon? He's getting really cross, and it's like, all he's asked you to do is like, so he probably just thought, I'll just let him lie there. Let's just do it. Let's just get this over with. Because you can feel the tension in the room, even just watching that footage. Because like, there's lots of nervous laughter from Matthew, Sarah and Janet. Tom sort of makes a joke at the start, something about, oh, you don't get this on the radio. And but he's really, yeah, I mean, he's not in a good place, I don't think. I think he's laid there thinking, well, this is it. I'm off. Where am I going? And I think he famously said in an interview, didn't he, when they asked what he was going to do next, he said, well, I'm going into oblivion. And that's like, so I don't know if he even had a job lined up. I think he went on to do some theatre after this as Oscar Wilde or something. But yeah, I don't know. The tension in that scene is quite tense. So maybe the director had ideas. But having said that, Peter Grimwade, I think, from what I understand about him, the director, was quite, I wouldn't say forceful, but I don't think he was one for sort of, I think he might have been a good match for Tom in terms of just getting what he wanted. So I don't know. Just while we're talking about him, I actually quite like I really like the direction in this. I think I think Peter Grimwade does a really good job. I really like that craning, when the music starts, the dee 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 dee, and the crane shot comes down onto the Doctor on the grass. I really love that. But I also like bits like, so when Tegan and Aunt Vanessa first step inside the TARDIS, we get quite an unusual shot. So the camera's obviously in the TARDIS prop. So you see them open the door and sort of look in. And I like that because you can't see what they are seeing. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to use your imagination. And so a lot of this stuff, I think, is what grabbed me as a kid, because there are so many things that fascinate me about the story, which is what I think got me into Doctor Who. Like the TARDIS itself. I remember going and turning my parents' wardrobe into a TARDIS, like putting up this black sellotape to make the police box sign, and they went ballistic. It's just things like that. The imagery in this just really captured me. The Watcher. I mean, what is the Watcher? I love that idea that the time's being distorted, so the Doctor's future self is kind of created this strange, character that's the Doctor sees, and the Doctor knows who it is, and you don't know. I mean, I love all that stuff. But I think the direction's pretty good, I would say. I think I know what you mean about that end scene. I guess he is just laid on the floor, but I don't know. I also just think the whole season, although it is a bit gloomy, I kind of like the fact it's gone down that route. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit of a depressive. I don't know. Because Tom's Doctor is so light and fun. Like you said, you think of Key to Time. There is a lot of comedy stuff in that era, which is what I don't particularly like. Although, having rewatched it, reviewed it with you recently, it's actually better than I remember. So, I don't know. It's a bit like the Seventh Doctor. I kind of like the fact the Fourth Doctor goes down this route of getting a bit darker, and he's getting towards the end, and he's got the darker costume, and it's all a little bit, gloomy.
Yeah, and I'll get that. And I'm not saying that I think his regeneration should be thousands of pounds worth of visual effects, and he should be jumping through explosions, and I'm not saying that. It's just. It just feels like they had an opportunity, I guess, to really ramp up the end of his character, of that incarnation, should I say, and really kind of drive in a real cool way into the Davison era. But it doesn't really happen. It's
I don't know. I do understand, and I think there'll be a lot of people listening that totally agree with you. And I think maybe the nostalgia side of this sort of tints my vision a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't want to take. I don't want to take away if this is like if you absolutely love this one, and I totally get that, dude.
I genuinely do.
Yeah, because I wasn't old enough to watch this when it went out. I was only 1 when this went out, but I can imagine for you being 6 or 7, being absolutely enthralled by it and loving. That early. This is like one of your earliest memories, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, people was what's the first Doctor you ever saw, and I say Logopolis, but then again, I do remember the Traken, the Melka. So when I say remember, I don't remember the story. Like I was 6, I don't remember the story, but I could remember for years. When we moved house and stuff, and I just have very clear images from stuff that I saw as a kid, and a lot of it is from this story. So it's like I said, the cloister rooms and all that. And just the TARDIS and the TARDIS walls, and I don't know, things just stick in your head. And and the shrinking TARDIS, a lot of this story just stuck in my head for years until I finally got to rewatch it when the VHS came out. I mean, God, that was it was so amazing for me. You know what it's like when you sort of you would love to rewatch something, but you can't for years, and then suddenly it's there, and you're like, oh, is this going to be, as good as I remember? Is that going to be how I remembered it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's there's just so much about it I like. See, I like that. I know what you're saying about the end, but the Doctor and the Master, they do have a good. I wouldn't say sort of they're not pitted against each other because they have to work together. And again, I like that, even though the Master constantly double crosses the Doctor, like. I think there's a real playfulness between the Doctor and the Master in this, but mainly on the Master side. So the Doctor's going to explain, stuff, going to explain why they're there. The Master just wants to shoot the guys. He's like, oh, just shoot them, Doctor, let's get on with it. So I love all this stuff, the two sides of the good and the bad working together. I think is really fun in this. But yeah, there's probably a lot of people out there like you that find the actual way the Fourth Doctor goes a little bit underwhelming, but I like it. I don't know. There's something about it I really like. I think it's the flashback clips as well.
Oh, they're cool.
I love it when they do stuff like that.
Yeah, they are cool. Yeah, and there are some really, really good elements to the story though. So the Watcher as a character I find really cool because
I love the Watcher.
For the majority of the times when you see him on screen, as well as the obvious thing about being mysterious and not knowing who he is and what he's about. The whole thing just momentarily while he's on screen, there's this really cool little musical theme when he's on screen, and the story just almost comes to a stop when he's there. Like, not so much at the beginning when they see him on the other side of the motorway, whatever it was, the M4 or something, with M6, whatever it is. But whenever, apparently it was the A413.
It's near Denham, isn't it?
Yeah, Amersham Road, Denham. Yeah, so apparently, so those early scenes where he's just kind of lurking in the background, they still had that little musical cue, but the story's going on. But from the moment where the Doctor incorrectly lands the TARDIS on a boat instead of under the Thames, when the Watcher actually interacts with somebody and he sort of beckons him up, and from those points, and then it happens again later on in the TARDIS where he beckons Adric over. And but they never tell you what's been said though. They keep it under lock and key, and I love that. So I think even Nyssa says to Adric, "Well, what did he say to you?" And Adric's a little bit cryptic about it. He doesn't want to. You can tell he's stunned by what he's heard, and he's processing it, but he doesn't reveal to the viewer what's just happened. And it's not until the very end, isn't it? Where is it Adric that says it was the
Nyssa.
Doctor, or Nyssa? It was the Doctor all along, or something.
Yeah.
So then we get that thing, and so even then, when she says that, it's still not 100% clear why it's the Doctor and why he's here, but it does give you a sense of, oh, okay, this is the whole, universe being distorted and time and stuff.
I've never really understood the character of the Watcher. I'll be honest. Even watching this for goodness knows 100th time yesterday, because I didn't really need to rewatch this. I've watched it so, but I thought, no, when we review stuff, I do have a sort of different head on. I'm like Wurzel. I put my review head on and I try and find things in it good and bad, even if it's a story like this that I love. But I still don't really understand how the Watcher's the Doctor. The only reason I said about the time distorting stuff is because I think Christopher Bidmead mentions it in the making of, and I thought, oh, okay, is it something like that? Is it? So I don't really think. I think that's another part of the story. It doesn't really make sense or doesn't get explained very well. But it doesn't bother me because I like the mystery of the Watcher. And I'm just thinking about you saying about him standing on the other side of the motorway in that field. Margaret or Margot, I've forgotten her name. One of the sort of producers on the show, whatever, said that she hadn't got permission to film in that field, and for years she was worried that someone was going to see it and come after her, because she just went, go and stand in that field and we'll get this shot. And he was like, all right then. But yeah, she said they didn't have permission to film there. But
yeah, Margot Hayhoe.
Margot Hayhoe, that's it. Yes, yeah. But I just really like the character Watcher. I think it's the mystery that I like. It's I never want it explained as well. Like if this was Moffat, as much as I love the Moff, this was Moffat, we'd have, wouldn't we? We'd have full explanation of who he is. But no, leave the mystery there. It's much better like that.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, no, he is a cool character, the Watcher, for sure. What did you think to Nyssa making a comeback as a proper companion, I guess, from this point onwards? Because the Watcher grabs her from Traken and pops her over to Logopolis. So I'm kind of in two minds about Nyssa as a companion. I think she's cool. I do think she's cool on one hand. But the other, and this is what leads into what I was saying about not so much the fun coming out of the show, but there doesn't seem to be much fire in any of the performances, mostly. But so there's a scene where after the Master has put Nyssa under some kind of trance, I guess, and he's put the bracelet on, later on, even when the bracelet's not on and she's herself, the way that she reacts, so she basically says, you killed my father. And his reply is simply, yes, but, his body remains useful. Or something. Yeah. And she doesn't say anything. She just, that's it. That's the end of that. She finally comes to because even when she sees him earlier on in the story, when he's in one of the little alcoves, he's just kind of sat there on the little stool and he looks nothing like Tremas. The hair's gone, the beard's gone.
Changed.
But she's like, Father! It's this kind of weird reunion. Yeah. And then later on, when the penny drops, like, you killed him, you'd expect her to
kick
off, yeah, or do something. But the Master just says, yeah. And then that's it. The scene carries on. So I find Nyssa to be really sidelined a lot, even though she's in it a few times. She's really, really sidelined. Even Tegan, the new kid on the block, has more lines and gets more to do. So yeah, I'm of two minds about Nyssa.
I thought it was odd. I mean, that is one bit of the story I've always thought was a bit strange, is the way she's just suddenly on Logopolis. And I get that the Watchers brought her there somehow, but it is kind of skipped over in it. She's just there, isn't she? She's like, Adric, oh, Nyssa, you're here. It's like she's got the bus. I've just caught the bus over to Logopolis from a truck. And it does seem a little bit, again, if you start to dissect this story, there are lots of things like that are just a little bit, what's that about? Same with the Master putting the bracelet on this. It's kind of ridiculous. He only uses it for one little scene where he tries to get her to kill Adric. Well, why doesn't, he's got a blimmin' tissue compression eliminator, why does he need to put a bracelet on Nyssa to strangle Adric? He could just shoot him or shrink him. So there's loads of little things like that are clearly there just to sort of pad out the story and add a bit of drama to it. But I guess I don't know, because I love this so much, I think I'm just very forgiving with stuff like that, But there is quite a few things in this story like that don't really add up.
Yeah.
But yeah. I know what you mean. She should have kicked off. It's a bit like when the Doctor tells Tegan about Aunt Vanessa. It's over in a flash. It takes her a second to work out that he's talking about Aunt Vanessa being dead, and then he kind of just turns her around, shoves her in a corner, and that's it. I don't think we ever mention Aunt Vanessa again.
And she's a funny old bird as well, Aunt Vanessa.
Oh, I love Aunt Vanessa. I think she's great. Where's that night errant? She's brilliant. See that all that stuff in episode 1, I think is great. You know, the introduction of Tegan and these silly expressions that they've given her, which I think they phase out. Like Tegan keeps saying stuff like, "Oh, rabbits," and "Hell's teeth," and there. So she keeps coming out with these weird phrases, which I don't recall her doing later on. And I could be wrong, but
no, I don't
remember
so.
Tegan having these catchphrases like that. But yeah, all that stuff's quite fun, I think, and I love all the location stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's the other reason I can enjoy watching this on repeat is, you know, all the location. The bit where the TARDIS lands on the boat is beautiful, isn't it? It's got like the reflection of the water and the Watcher on the bridge, and even the motorway stuff, which is grim and wet and damp. I don't know. So it just all looks great, I think.
No, I agree, man. Yeah, the location stuff is pretty sweet. Yeah, especially that bit on the boat. Yeah, that's cool.
The bit of the boat, and also the end. So when they're running, you know, the very sort of last episode, the TARDIS is in the background, and I don't know if it's just luck, or if they purposely shot it like that. But the sun is shining through the TARDIS windows, and it just looks really chunky in the background, and the windows are all lit up, and the Doctor's running away from it, and it's like it's you know, the location stuff looks fantastic in this. I didn't realise for years that dish, the radio dish, was a model. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of people probably spotted it straight away, but I think so. They've put it close to the camera, haven't they? Mm-hmm. So that it looks like it's in the background. But I thought that was real for years. I thought it was a real place. So I thought that dish was actually there.
Oh yeah, so just a bit of forced perspective, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think all that stuff looks really good. But yeah, what do you think to Tegan though? So new companion. Introduction to Tegan. She's feisty, and she's not having a knight errant come and save her. She's changing that wheel. She's quite feisty, and you know, she's going to get stuff done. So what do you reckon to Tegan?
Yeah, to be honest with you, dude, I think I think the story would be a lot worse off if we didn't have Tegan introduced in this story, because she really does provide a little bit of fire in some of those scenes, which is, in my opinion, desperately needed in this story, because it's already gloom and doom to the nth degree. So when you have someone like Tegan that just explodes every now and then, even if she gets cut down pretty quick, her rants don't last for too long, but those little short bursts of annoyance and stuff like that, it's so needed, man. It's really needed in this story, because without that, what would you have? I mean, you'd have the Doctor kind of shouts his way through 2 scenes in all of the 4 parts, maybe. Mm-hmm. The Master's very cool and collected. He's got that quiet, sinister vibe to him.
Keeps doing that laugh. Ha, ha.
Oh, we have that again, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, quite a lot, yeah.
Especially in episode 1 and 2.
What is he doing in episode 1? So I sat there thinking, now I know I like this, but what is the Master actually doing?
Yeah, you know, when he's zapping some of the citizens of Logopolis into the miniature, you know, every time he does it, you have that. And I think even the cliffhanger, isn't it? One of the cliffhangers, it's just the camera on him, and he's got that little chuckle. Is it episode 1 or 2? I can't remember. I think it's episode 1 or 2.
Yeah, actually, there's this. Well, you talk about that. There is a strange cliffhanger, isn't there? I think it's episode 1 or 2, where it's when he shrunk Aunt Vanessa and the policeman, and the Doctor's kind of getting the rap for it, and the policeman's like, "Who are you responsible for this?" And there's 2 like little Action Men dolls sat in the car. I think that's a really odd cliffhanger. I mean, I totally get what they're trying to do, but I don't know. It doesn't really work.
That's episode 1, the end of. Oh, mate, that's a bit clumsy, that bit. It's the Doctor sort of yells over his shoulder, "A distraction," and then Adric pretends to nick the bike, and then he pretends he's fallen off the bike, doesn't he?
Oh, that is hilarious.
Ow! And then policemen are no good, are they? Because the Doctor and Adric basically just stroll past them straight into the TARDIS, and off they go. They're not very quick on their feet.
No, definitely. And also, you know, when they finally open the TARDIS door and it's just a police box. I don't know, little bits like that I love. And it reminds me a bit of Father's Day, when you remember when Chris opened the TARDIS, but the Reapers were there and it was just a police box. I don't know if that's like sort of an homage to it, if you like. But I thought that was cool. So you actually get to see inside the rackety old TARDIS prop, which so they've obviously dug a couple of TARDIS props out of storage, haven't they? So we actually get to see a couple of different TARDIS props in this, which if you watch the behind the scenes stuff, when they're wheeling it into the lay-by, is rattling around, it's swaying, and I really feel for Matthew Waterhouse having to get up on the roof of one of them, because it looks so unsafe. It looks like you could push it over with one finger. Mm-hmm. The old TARDIS props just look battered to hell, don't they? And Clayton Hickman loves this story because there are so many little anomalies that he can't work out. Like the first TARDIS we see with the policeman right at the beginning, the door has got a black sign saying pull to open, and the TARDIS key lock is on the right-hand side door. And it's suddenly later on, the TARDIS sign is blue and all faded, and the key lock's changed to the other side. And there's so many things that Clayton Hickman cannot work out how this has happened during production. He's like, okay, so did they film this on a different day? What is this prop? And so they've basically just got loads of different TARDIS bits, made a couple of TARDIS props the best they can, and they just look like they're about to fall down.
Well, that's we have that quite often, don't we? Especially through Pertwee's era. I think they started to tighten the bolts up a little bit as we went through sort of in the latter part of Davison's era.
Yeah, it looks like a bit more chunky, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It looks like it's not good. Like you said, if you lean on it, the whole thing's just going to collapse like it's made of paper.
And you can hear the door creak. You know, when Adric goes in, when he's mucking about with the lock, it's all creaky, and I bet it's stank in there as well. It looks,
yeah, she gets some UB40 on that door.
They definitely needed it.
But going back to Tegan.
Tegan, yeah.
Yeah, I think that, I think she's a cool, she's definitely needed in this story. And I think, I think Jeanette Fielding, she kind of played this just straight out the gate, just a strong, there's a good reason why she was given the nickname, mouth on legs. She had just had this no-nonsense, strong feistiness, which is cool, because as we go into Davison's era, we have the well-known sort of crowded TARDIS for a while. So it's kind of okay in a way, because Nissa's more the quiet type, isn't she? She's more she processes things quieter, a bit more calmer, whereas Tegan just blows up. And so you've got that dynamic, and then you've just got poor Adric, who's, not really sure what the bloody hell he's doing to some degree. But yeah, I like Jeanette Fielding. I think she's good, and she's solid gold, man, on the on the Blu-ray collection box sets.
Yes, the making of.
Was it on the behind the sofa?
Oh, that as well, yeah.
When she's just watching Classic Who with the other companions and stuff. She's really, really funny.
She's brilliant. I love Janet Fielding. I was going to say they bring out her old costume on the making of, don't they? And she's like, she's ripping it off the rack, trying it on, and I bet they're like, no, someone's paid that hundreds of pounds for that. She doesn't care. She's like, see if it still fits. And no, she's brilliant. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's a good introduction for Tegan. I think you're absolutely right. She definitely injects some, if you were sort of, for some people that perhaps weren't into the story as much, they might be nodding off, and she would instantly wake you up in any scene that she's in. Because that bit where she comes out and shouts at the Doctor and Adric, I demand to speak to the so-and-so of this ship, and the Doctor's sort of all like, oh my God, she's great. I think it's a good fun story for her. I agree with you about Nyssa. I like Nyssa, but you're right. We should have had a bit more of her kicking off, There was definitely some scenes that we could have had between her and the Master, which could have been more dramatic than her having a brake slip put on to control her mind. That does seem weak. I will admit that. We definitely could have had more between those two. Yeah,
but then again, at the same time, you couldn't have two very fiery companions like that.
No, that's true.
Because that would have just competed with each other. So, I mean, this story, and as we go into Davison's era, the opposites, if you like, of Tegan and Nyssa are okay, because they are opposite and it works, which is weird because Adric, Matthew Waterhouse, let's get on to him.
Yes.
He, it's a really funny scene, isn't he, when he shouts back at the Doctor. When he shouts back, when they're doing the calculations and stuff. And the Doctor yells at him and Adric's like, sorry. The Doctor's like, there's no need to shout.
Yeah. I tell you what, I think those two are great together in this. And I think a lot of it's unintentional. I think there's genuine frustration from Matthew with Tom in the scene and vice versa. But it's funny, isn't it? There's a real tetchiness between the two, but I think it's great, you know.
Yeah,
and the doctor and sort of pupil relationship they've got going on, I think is really good.
Yeah, but the thing with Matthew Waterhouse is that I think sometimes he tries to flip between those two personality types in certain stories. Like on some of them, he tries to be the kind of cool kid, you know. He's got the hair, he's got the star badge, you know, he's the cool, you know, the clever little dude in the TARDIS and stuff. And then at other times, I think he tries to be more like Tegan in a way where he tries to shout a little bit, he tries to push back, but inevitably he just gets, you know, slapped back down. You know, the universe just puts him back in order immediately and slaps him back down. So it's interesting with Matthew because you can see exactly what he was trying to do. He was trying to be, and there's a scene where him and Nissa's like, Adric, where are you going? And he's off on Logopolis, and he's like, the master's out there somewhere. And she's like, well, I'll come with you. And he's like, no. You know, he sticks his finger up. He's like, this could be very dangerous. So there are scenes like that where he tries to put his foot down. And I guess back then in the 80s, it was kind of perceived as like the male's job to go and do the dangerous stuff. And he tries to sort of act on that, I guess. Not act as in acting, but act on that from a male-female perspective.
Yeah.
And then other times, he's a bit quiet. So, but in this story, he's not too bad. We don't have any of that kind apart from the stealing the bike and falling off stuff, you know. We don't have any of that typical Adric nonsense, I guess, which,
I think it's one of his best stories. I think he's really good. I think, I think in terms of his performance and the stuff he gets to do, I think it's probably one of his best stories, because I love all the stuff with him and the Doctor at the start where they're sort of working together and the Doctor is so tetchy with him, but he is giving as good as he gets in certain scenes. And I'm like, yeah, go Andric. I think he gets some good stuff to do. You really feel that Matthew has found his confidence in terms of like he feels like he's become very at home on the TARDIS set. You know, he's, you know, to actually even to sort of deliver those lines to Tom in the way that he does, I think he's definitely found a bit of a backbone. Yes. He's probably sort of sussed things out now. He's got to know Tom a little bit. He definitely seems more assured, almost a little bit like you can sort of sense that he now feels that these new people coming aboard, he's going to, you know how he's sort of famously tries to show the new actors the ropes. You do kind of get the feeling that Matthew already thinks he's like, you know, you're the new kids on the block. I'll show you how this is done, guys. You know what I mean? He's very sort of assertive in his scenes, isn't he? And you can sort of almost imagine him turn to Sarah and say, right, I'm just gonna do this scene like this, and I'll be telling you how to do it. And I don't know, but yeah, he definitely seems more confident, I would say. Yeah, and it's good. It's a good story for Adric, I think. Mm-hmm. You know, I like him in it. I like him and Tom. I think that they're good together. Yeah,
agreed. Before we get on to Tom in a little bit more detail, because it is his closing story, of course, what about some of the supporting cast members then? So John Fraser as the Monitor, the leader of the Logopolites, or whatever you want to call them.
I just see Noel Edmonds every time. I can't get away from it. I'm really sorry. I just always think he looks like Noel Edmonds. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, because John Fraser, I think, passed away this year, didn't he? Or quite recently.
Last year, yeah.
I like the Monitor. Something about the name as well. The Monitor, just great. Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I like the fact that when him and Adric are going around trying to work out where the sums have gone wrong, the Monitor tells Adric off for not concentrating. He's like, no, it's 9, not 7. And Adric's like, sorry. Yeah. And he's like, but then it turns out that Adric was right, and the Monitor's wrong. He's like, oh, I'm sorry about that. So I don't know. I think he's quite a good character. I quite like it, and he's got this weird sweatshop going on. At least that's what, isn't that what Tegan calls it?
Tegan calls it, yeah.
See, she even gets a bit fiery about that. She's like, "What's this blimmin' sweatshop you got going on here?" It's like, what? So that's quite unusual. But yeah, I like the Monitor. I thought John Fraser was good.
Yeah, he's okay, John Fraser, actually, isn't he? He's got that very, as you would expect, a kind of very calm. He knows the weight of what's at stake, doesn't he? So at first he's very calm. He's very welcome to Logopolis,
yeah, it's a doctor.
Yeah, hey, doctor. His little fist bump and everything's cool. And then later on, you can see that he knows what's happening. He knows that without Logopolis, which is an interesting story concept in itself, that without Logopolis, the universe starts to deteriorate and literally die in front of your eyes, that entropy and stuff. So you can see that he acts that really well, that switch between being very, very calm, everything's nice on Logopolis, everyone's doing their maths, everything's cool. And then towards the end, he's like, all right, there isn't any more left to throw at the fan. The fan is now just made of the brown stuff. And his exit is pretty cool as well. The way that they use the... they sort of... it looks like it's some kind of weird blue screen CSO thing, the way they've sort of taken bits of him out and then he fades away. And it's kind of cool. But he's an all right character, though, the Monitor. He's... he's pretty cool.
The feeling. Yeah, I was going to say, I get the feeling that I like this fact that it seems like him and the Doctor have known each other for years. They seem like old friends, don't they? Even though we've never met him before. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like that. It's like, oh, Doctor, you're back. Nice to see you again. Where have you been? And normally, a lot of time when we get worlds created in Doctor Who, like a place like Logopolis, and you get to meet a new race. In Classic Who, I can often find that quite boring. I don't know. You know what I mean? Quite often you get introduced to a sort of a planet or a race, and you get these really rubbish sort of part-time actors that are just, so boring to watch. Mm-hmm. But I like, because Logopolis is sort of it feels fully formed, so it's holding the universe together, and they're all doing these calculations, and they all whisper and talk. It's got a bit. I find it more interesting than perhaps some of the other planets we've visited in Classic Who, because it seems to have a purpose, and like the Monitors, there's a bit more to him. He's quite an interesting character. The fact that Doctors knows him and stuff like that. So
a bit more substance to it, rather than just here's a planet of people that.
Yeah, it's a planet of like
war
rebels
for some reason.
Or
yeah. No, I read you, dude.
Yeah, so I like all that stuff.
Yeah. What about Anthony Ainley then in this? Because he's like we said in The Keeper of Traken, at the end where he takes over Seamus's body, it's he's just straight away into the character that we know of his version of the Master, which is straight away. And then throughout this story, he's very, very consistent, isn't he? He's got that real evil streak to him, even in his face, even when he's not talking. He's just got that look about him, like this guy is up to no good. You don't even have to know who he is or what he's about. Just visually, they've nailed that up to no good scoundrel would happily just kill everybody in a heartbeat sort of look about him. So I know you prefer Delgado's Master, sorry. Yeah, I know you prefer him. But there is and I think I do as well, I think I prefer Delgado. But there is something very cool about Anthony Ainley, and he's really, really good in McCoy's last story.
Survival.
Yeah, he's very, very good in that. But there is you can see why they cast him as the Master. He has got that really good look, hasn't he?
I think he's great in it. I mean, yeah, Delgado I think will always be my favourite Master. But I grew up with, this is the Master I grew up with. So he's like my Master, if you like. I think Anthony Ainley does a great job. And I think he injects a lot of much needed enthusiasm in it. This, again, like you said about Tegan, this story would be a lot worse off, I think, if you didn't have him in it, because he's really going for it. And he seems to be having a ball playing the Master, doesn't he? You can tell he is loving every minute that he's on screen. He is just, great in it. He may be slightly more pantomime in performance than Delgado, but I think it's just a different take, and I really like it. So I think he's great in it. I think the scenes of him and Tom they're so opposite. Like Anthony Ainley's so full of mischievous glee, and he's he's really into it, and Tom is so subdued. Like when they have to do the handshake, and the Doctor's really like peeved off about it. Oh, one last chance, then let's do it. And there's such a contrast between the two actors and two characters. But yeah, I'm not saying Ainley outshines Tom, but he's really sort of lifts the story. I think he's really good in it.
Yeah, you're right. He does have a bit of pantomime-ish.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Certainly more than Delgado. I think Delgado's master, he's more of a... You could imagine him as a James Bond villain, Delgado.
Yeah.
He's got that look about him where I think some of the ladies might like him, but at the same time, he's got that...
He's suave.
Yeah, suaveness to him, a bit of a Don. He looks like... But he's got like a bit of a bad streak to him. Like just by the look of him, you can tell that he's probably a bad guy, but I think, probably go down well with the ladies. Whereas Delgado, I don't think, not take anything away from Anthony Ainley, he's a good looking guy, but he doesn't have that sort of same vibe about him. You can just, there's no 50-50 split or whatever it is. He's just pure 100% bad dude. Like you can tell he's the baddie straight away.
Yeah, he's more manic, isn't he, Anthony Ainley? I think, like when he's pressing the buttons to coordinates, he really sort of does it in this manic way. And yeah, he hasn't quite got the suaveness as Delgado, but what Anthony Ainley has got is that you do get the feeling that he's dangerous.
Yes.
So he might come across as a bit pantomime villain at times, but he also is quite prepared to just shrink or kill anybody, even for no reason. Like he's quite a dangerous guy to be around. Like he was going to shoot that the chap in the chair that's listening to the headphones, and he's no danger to anybody. He just wants to wipe him out for the fun of it, for target practice. So there is a dangerous edge to Anthony Ainley's master, which shouldn't be overlooked. So yeah, but I think he's great in it. Really good performance from him.
Yeah, he's
just
cool.
Looks like he's having so much fun.
Yeah. Then we had a very small performance at the beginning from Tom Georgeson, the detective inspector, the one that's quizzing the Doctor on.
Yeah, he's a bit rubbish, I think. And
they're all rubbish, mate. At the not the actors, but the as policemen.
He's such a well-known actor. I mean, he's done so much work, and he's given a really, not a very good performance, really. Like him and Tom look like they're having a bit of a laugh in their scene, don't they? It's like, is this your sports car, sir? No. Like the way the lines are delivered are so odd in that scene.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like Dixon, a Doc Green kind of rule book for how to write policemen. It's very much that like what's going on here then sort of thing.
It, yeah.
And
caricature policeman, yeah.
Yeah, and when the Doctor and Adric, after the distraction, they go back into the TARDIS and then bugger off. He's not really got any haste about him, but these are potentially two criminals. And he's just sort of casually knocking on the door and looking round to the other policeman, sort of rolling his eyes like, oh, yeah, be good to get back to the station, won't it, and have a cup of tea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then they open the door, like you said, and we see the inside of an actual old-school police box. And then that's it. They just sort of look at each other with this confused look, like what's just happened, we don't know. And then that's it. So he's not... I wouldn't say it's his best performance, because he went on to do tons of TV stuff.
Loads, yeah.
Like all of the popular things in the UK throughout the 90s. And like in the 90s, he really pushed the boat out. And you can tell that he was a hard-working actor because, I don't know, like Between the Lines, Fierce Creatures, Hetty Wainthropp, Silent Witness, A Touch of Frost, Foyle's War, Agatha Christie's Poirot, Heartbeat, Midsummer Murders, Angel, The Royal, Ashes to Ashes, Shameless. The list goes on and on. He's done so many things, and he's still with us. Bless him. He's 83. He's still, he doesn't act anymore, but he's still with us. But I don't know. This weird little performance of his is just, you wouldn't hire him based on this performance. It's weird, but nonetheless, I guess it's a talking point. They could have hired any extra just to play that part, I suppose, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think I blame Tom a little bit for that, his performance. Don't blame Tom, but Tom's really odd in the scenes with him. And it almost feels like, I don't know if they were, I'm just presuming it, but it feels to me like they were sort of lads on set, having a bit of like, oh, come on, Tom, right, let's go for a take. And they just don't seem to be taking the scene seriously, that bit. And Tom, the way Tom delivers his lines is strange in that scene. But yeah, he just doesn't really jump off the screen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I read you. Delore Whiteman, Aunt Vanessa, small part, but pretty funny.
Oh, she's cool, isn't she? See, I love it when you get an actor like that just gets a small part, but they really make an impression. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
they're cool.
I love Aunt Vanessa, and she's only in episode 1, I think, before she gets shrunk. But you instantly get her character, and it's just a really fun performance, I think. So yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, so the sort of disapproving aunt. She's like, "What do you want to, you and your aeroplanes sort of thing, and why are you going off to do this rubbish?" And yeah, she is cool. Yeah,
she's strong, isn't she? Can I just say, I remember as well, when her and Tegan get in the car at the beginning, that car is bashed up. Where did they find Tegan's car? It looks like it's been got out of a sort of a crusher in a scrapyard and bought for like £50 or so. It's got a great big dent in the door. It looks wrecked.
You can tell that the
no wonder the tyre's blown.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can see exactly why it broke down. It's a mess. Even the spare tire's flat. It's one of those cars, isn't it? It's
an absolute state, yeah.
So I don't want to talk about Peter Davison because there's nothing to say, is there? He's just got that strange kind of grin as he's regenerated into his incarnation. He does this thing, doesn't he, where he, not before he leans up on his elbows, but just when he's laying down still, and the image of the Watcher fades and it's his face. He does this weird kind of thing, doesn't he, where he's still looking up at I assume the lights of the studio, but he just looking up into the sky, and he just does this kind of weird half-mouth sort of grin thing, and then he looks up, and it's not a regeneration that we've seen in Classic Who up to that point, because normally the Doctor's all over the place. He's unconscious for a while, isn't he? And he's a bit sort of weird, and then they play on that later on in Modern Who, where the Doctor's just really out of it and disorientated and stuff. But in this one, he just sort of sits up, and he's like, right then. Look on his face is like, I know you lot already, because I've been the Watcher, so hello.
It is a bit straight. I mean, watching the behind the scenes, so, like back in these days, 10 o'clock, lights were switched off, and that's it. So they've got the counter clock at the bottom showing you the time, and it's 10 to 10 when they're trying to get all this stuff filmed, and it's been a nightmare. So it's I think it's 9:51 or something like that, the clock says. Davison is thrown onto that floor in this but not even as the Doctor. He's got all this white makeup on. So they're trying to do the transition scene. I just assumed that they'd mixed his face with the Watcher. I didn't realise they'd actually painted his face white with all these veins and brushed his hair out to make him look like the Watcher, because you wouldn't even know that from watching it. I mean, so that there's all that. So they'd get a shot of him in all this white makeup, and then like, right, off you, thank you, Peter. Now go and get changed into the burgundy outfit. And you're like, blimmin' heck, it's like 2 minutes to 10. This is how fine they're cutting, getting this regeneration scene in the can, because they would just turn the lights off back then. That was it, wasn't it? There was none of this, we just need half an hour overtime. Lights are off. And it is so close to the bone that he must have literally just sat on that mat, sat up, and they're like, thank you, right, everybody go home. And that was it. It was so close to the bone.
That was it, yeah.
This regeneration. But yeah, it's all on the, you can actually see the clock counting down. The pressure must have been immense. And I can just imagine Peter stood at the side watching all this thinking, what the blimmin' heck have I got myself into? Like the tension in that room, just doing that scene. I mean, I don't know. I assume it's the first scene he shot. It must have been.
It was,
But yeah, he must have been thinking. He does say he did go to the bar with Tom before, they started filming the scene. And he said him and Tom were talking, but they couldn't hear each other because it was so noisy, and he's no idea what Tom was saying to him. And Tom, he said he might have been offered me advice, and Tom Baker was like, "Oh, I wouldn't have offered him advice," and So I don't know, who knows, but if you just imagine all this stuff going on at the time, it must have been crazy.
Yeah,
but we don't. That's all we get to see of him. Literally, is that him sitting up.
Yeah, no, I read you, man. So we've gone through all of the cast. We're going to come on to Tom now, finally. Just spend Tom. A few minutes talking about Tom. But before that, direction-wise, I agree with you on that. It's a fairly good one for direction. It's got a good combination of it. It's static when it needs to be, but it's also got some other stuff going on, like some interesting angles, especially a bit on the boat that we spoke about, and some of the location stuff. It's all good. Music, though. So Paddy Kingsland's score is really cool for this one, isn't it?
I love it. I absolutely love it. Even though it's got that sort of 70s wacka wacka guitar, which can sometimes, when we watch programs with it now, come across as a bit cheesy. So I think it's brilliant. I absolutely love the score to this. And I think it really adds to some of the tension in it as well. Like with the Watcher, you said about the Watcher theme.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. It adds that sort of mystery to who is this guy. I absolutely love the music in it. I think Paddy Kingsland's score is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, no, agreed. It does add some tension, that kind of sort of 70s guitar wah pedal sort of thing.
Yeah, and the direction's good. Peter Greenwade. On the whole, very good. He's got some sweeping shots, hasn't he? Like the regeneration. Also, there's a shot from the TARDIS roof down to the Doctor and the Master shaking hands. And like I said, filming from inside the TARDIS when Tegan and that are coming in. I feel like Peter's tried a few things, and for me, it makes it more interesting to watch. The only thing I would say is a very strange shot of Adrix behind at one scene. I'm not quite sure what that was about, but no, overall the direction's pretty good, I think.
Yeah, some interesting shots within the TARDIS set as well. Like you can see that they've put the camera up really high on some of them, and it's pointing almost vertically down on top of them at some points, and the whole recursive loop thing, as they're going in and out of the other TARDISes, and it's the lights are getting dimmer and dimmer and stuff. It's all really nicely done that way. And when Tegan's legging around and she's stuck in a maze, it feels like, and you can hear the cloister bell every now and then, can't you? Just and the Doctor's worried. The poor old Doctor. Like, let's get on to Tom, because
let's go on to Tom.
He must have just, because in the previous one, in the Keeper of Traken, at the very beginning, the Keeper says to him, want you to help, but just want to let you know this is potentially fatal for you. So the Doctor's like, oh, okay, it doesn't sound good. And then in this one, the Watcher's like, you're going to die pretty soon, mate. We assume that's what he said to the Doctor anyway. We don't know that. It's not said, but because the Doctor just looks really shocked and very down about what he's just heard from the Watcher. So we can only assume that the Watcher has said something along the lines of, I'm your future self in a weird way. Just want to let you know that I'm around because I've saved your future companion, Nyssa. I've brought her to Logopolis, and you're about to pop your clogs pretty soon. But don't worry, because I'm going to be your next incarnation. You'll regenerate into me. That's roughly how that would have gone, I assume, because when the Doctor goes up on the bridge to talk to the Watcher, Adric's like, well, what was he all about then? And the way that Tom acts that is really well done. He's got that kind of, he knows his fate, basically. He knows what's coming, but obviously doesn't want to say that outright to Adric. So Tom, I think, for me, dude, I think he is good in this. He has got that there is a real sense of, something bad is round the corner. He plays that very well, that sort of sense of upcoming something is going to happen. Even if you were watching this fresh in the 80s and you maybe weren't aware that this was Tom's last story, because this wasn't always advertised like it is nowadays. You might not have known this was Tom's last one, but even so, you did get that feeling that something was coming, and Tom plays that really well. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of like middle Tom Baker's era, beginning to middle, as we get towards the end of it. I still love Tom, don't get me wrong, I still like his Doctor and stuff, but yeah, just not quite got that aura about him as some of the previous stories up to this point for me, but still okay.
I get you. I mean, I love Tom in this, but you can tell, he says in the making of that, he felt like his spark had gone and it was time for him to go. But you can also tell that he didn't want to go. So I feel like you can really feel the inner conflict in Tom. More than, because if you think about any other regeneration, this one to me, and it's just because we know of Tom's frame of mind and the behind the scenes, but this one feels quite personal. You feel like Tom is really struggling to let go. Like the Doctor would be in real life. So sort of reality and drama blur a bit. I think, with this regeneration. Like with Pertwee, you watch his regeneration, it's like Pertwee left, he went on to do Wurzel, and he didn't seem to, that he just moved on and he was happy about it. Tennant decided to leave when he felt it was time to go. He got plenty of work and he was happy about it. With Tom, he's going through a bit of a bad patch in his, real life. He's not been very well. It's all this stuff with Lala. He's decided to leave the show that he's been doing for 7 years. He's become very territorial over it to the point of becoming difficult to work with. He thinks he actually says, I could have written my own lines better than anyone. He knows the character Doctor inside out because he's almost become the Doctor and the Doctor has become Tom. The line has become blurred. So to me, this regeneration, when I watch it, hits home because it feels much more personal and real than a lot of them because of I know Tom's frame of mind. So when I see him lying there saying, the moment's been prepared for, there is a conviction and frailty to Tom's delivery that I feel something, I really feel sort of quite moved by it. So although I totally get what you were saying about the regeneration and maybe it could have been more dramatic, I think because it's so personal, it really hits home with me. I just could sense Tom really not wanting to let go. He feels like it's time for him to go, but he doesn't want to. Doesn't want to go. And he didn't go to they said, normally I think they had a bit of a leaving do. And Tom would normally always go for a drink after they'd finished a wrap on an episode. And he didn't go. He said it was John Nathan Turner said we were all there after Tom's last scene, which I don't know what Tom's last scene was. I don't think it was this. I don't know what Tom's last scene was. Even the producer can't remember. But whatever it was that he filmed last, Tom just went home or went off because I don't think he even had a home at this point. But he went off and it didn't go and sort of socialise the drink because J&T says because he just couldn't face the sort of goodbyes and the reality of that he was going to have to do something else now, that he was going to have to find a new home. And Tom actually admits that he was... he loved being in the studio, even though he was, a bit tetchy and had issues. He would just go and sleep in the BBC some nights because he just didn't want to be anywhere else. He just would go and say to the security guard, I'm just going to pop up and sleep on one of the mattresses we use for sort of stunt people. And he would just go and sleep in the BBC. So he's so attached to this place. It has become a home. And I think it was probably very difficult for him to leave. But yeah. I don't know. I still think his performance is good. If I had to be critical, he does throw away a lot of, the beginning when he's talking to Adric and he's giving some exposition. I notice he really says the lines quickly, like he just wants to get them out. So some of Tom's delivery in this feels like he's not really into the script. He just wants to get those lines said. That's the only sort of criticism I would say about Tom, but I still think he's great in it.
No, I understand. Yeah, I get that, dude. Yeah.
But you just feel that it's he's definitely feeling a bit melancholy. Is that the word?
Melancholy. Yeah, he's feeling a bit down because it must be difficult for him. Yeah, because like you just said, I'm not going to repeat that, but he must have been very comfortable at this point. So right up until the bit where he had said to John Nathan Turner, yes, I'm going to go. And this will be my last story, I guess. But before that conversation had happened, if you think about, he was probably, if you take away his personal problems on and off set with Lala aside, he's probably just feeling really comfortable, like he's in at this point, a very popular TV show in that genre anyway, and kind of got his own way a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of fame that comes with that and all that stuff. So he probably felt like it was I don't know whether he wanted to go on and do more years and stuff, or whether he felt pressured to go. Because I know that John Nathan Turner, there is an interview somewhere, isn't there, where he does say like it's sad that somebody like Tom goes because he was so popular as the Doctor, and the show does very well because of that, obviously. But at the same time, he's really difficult to work with a lot of the time. So from a TV making behind the scenes point of view, a lot of people were probably like, thank God for that. Like, we can, because Davison was probably a teddy bear in comparison to work.
Sarah Sutton and Janet Fielding said that the atmosphere changed like that.
Yeah.
When Peter stepped aboard, he was so, because he's the new kid on the block, he was so easygoing. It was just, such a big change.
Exactly, yeah.
The atmosphere really lifted in terms of the tension. And, you can't blame JNT for wanting to sort of have a new Doctor and his own Doctor in a way. Really.
Yeah, but so because of that, there's, like you said, it probably comes across as more personal because Tom comes with a lot of baggage in that respect, So yeah, dude, I think, he is good. Don't get me wrong. He's still great, whichever way you slice it. He's still great as the Doctor. He is more subdued though. I think you nailed it, mate. Really nailed it, because from a character point of view, he knows his fate because he's been told by the Watcher, presumably. And then from a personal point of view, from Tom's, his life at that point, it's probably not going too well. He's lost his missus. He's about to lose his most famous role, whether he knew that at the time, yes or no. So it is more personal, sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, just before we move off that, I don't think I think him and Lala just got married, but it didn't last long, but still a lot of tension. But no, I was just going to say, just to sort of put yourself in that position as well. So Tom, I think, was 47 or something when he filmed this. I'm not sure, but just put yourself in that position. You're on the floor, leaving this show that you've taken over. I mean, he was Doctor Who. There's no two ways about it. He was the Doctor. He'd been there part 7 years. If you said to anybody during that time, Tom Baker was Doctor Who. But just imagine lying there and you're filming this scene, this is it, and you look up and you see this young, handsome man about to step into your shoes. That's got to hurt. I mean, to anybody, to look up and see a younger person coming in to take over, that is going to hurt. Not including all the other stuff that would have been going on in his mind about not wanting to sort of leave the role. But just imagine that. Just imagine lying there looking up, seeing Peter, thinking, it would just make you feel like, I'm just going to go throw myself on the scrap heap now. I'm done. It must totally be. Yeah. Anybody's going to feel like that, aren't they?
Yeah, and we had that. We had those thoughts and what Hartnell had said to people around him at the time. We had that dramatised very nicely at the end of An Adventure in Space and Time, where Pat Troughton turns up on set for the first time, and Hartnell's very much... He was, for obvious reasons, he was the Doctor up until that point, and then you got this new chap that steps on board, and Hartnell didn't really want to go, did he? And
no.
So we have that dramatised really nicely. So in a weird way, it was kind of history repeating itself. You had Tom that... probably was a small part of him was like, I'm done with this, because it can't be a nice atmosphere for me and everybody else just for me to be grumpy all day and shouting at people. But at the same time, like we've just discussed, he is the Doctor. He is Doctor Who, definitely, and it's his show. And then you got this new chap who's young, like you said, very handsome, and then he's just expected to pack his stuff and see you later. So I do feel for him, definitely. At that moment in his life, anyway, I do feel for him, because it just wasn't. And like you said, his marriage to Lala Ward was what? A matter of weeks, months? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think he'd got married just before they started filming Logopolis, I think. And then, I think it lasted like 8 or 9 months, something like that.
There we go. But there we go. Let's not finish on a downer in terms of, because we have got more Tom to review. This isn't our last Tom Baker story. We've got about 9 or 10 other stories of his run to review. So we've got some crackers to review. But there is a little bit of sadness that comes with his ending, his regeneration, because it's a long old run. It's a long old run of stories, and everyone loves Tom, regardless of how you feel about some of his stories. We all love Tom. So
he's a very popular Doctor, and he, I think, will always be the Doctor. To a lot of people, he's the definitive Doctor, isn't he? Probably the most iconic, in his performance, the scarf, the look, canine, everything. I think will always be one of the most iconic Doctors. So it's, he had a good run. He's got some fantastic stories.
Yeah, agreed.
Over those 7 years.
Yeah, you make a good point. Whenever companies start to do merchandise for Doctor Who, anything to do with the classic era, it's always Tom's Doctor that gets the first run of things and stuff. So yeah, I read you, man. Okie dokie. Anything else on Logopolis, dude, before we wrap up and put a score on this?
No, don't think so. No.
Righto, it's you to go first, dude. What you
Right.
got?
I mean, I do love this, and I'd love to give it a 10, but I've got to put my reviewer's head on, like old Wurzel, and I've got to, take on board some of the things that don't work in it. So I'm going to score it an 8.5.
Okay, that's a good score.
But I
mate.
do love it. In my heart, it's a 10. I absolutely love this story, but from a review point of view, there are things that don't add up at all. A lot of this, the narratives in that is a bit crazy. So it's an 8.5.
Okay. For me, it's going to be a 7.
A 7.
A 7, yeah. So a reasonable score there. I would, like you, mate. I would love to score this higher, but it's just, yeah. Oh, I hate saying it, but it's just a real missed opportunity for me, dude. For Tom's exit story, it could have been a much more higher charged, more interesting exit for, like we were saying, arguably the definitive Doctor of the classic years. So, and I appreciate that it's a cool moment in Doctor Who history as well, as we were saying, the personal side of things for Tom and the regeneration and stuff. So, yeah,
it's interesting. Do we score it when we do scores? Do we score it on how good we think it is or how much we enjoy it? I know that. Does that make sense? Because if my enjoyment level for this is a 10, I love it. I don't know. I can't explain it. I just love this story, and it's a 10. But in terms of, I don't know, like a review stance, do you know what I'm saying? It's I'm really conflicted because I know it's not a 10 out of 10 story, but I do love it. It's one of my favourite Doctor Who stories.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes they're one and the same thing. But I think so I do separate myself from that for review. So
Yeah. I suppose they've got to do that. Yeah.
But then again, there's no right or wrong to this stuff, dude. If you want to score it a 10, I'll change it.
No. It's that's 8.5 is my review score, but it is one of my favourite stories. I love it.
I really do. Yeah. Right then, so that's an 8.5 from him and a 7 from me. We had half a dozen audio reviews in, so let's rattle through these. This first up is Mr. Neil Campbell.
What about you fellas? Sorry I was late to the party on Tracking last week. I'd have given it an 8.5 out of 10, and with its ending, it ties in nicely with Logopolis, which is a story that I've always really enjoyed. I know it's often seen as being hit and miss, but I think it works. It is a very sort of dark and ominous feeling to it, and that's the way it should be because it's Tom Baker's final story, and the Fourth Doctor, has saw the Watcher across the road and stuff, and he knows what's happening, he knows it's coming, so it should be really ominous. And I feel that in David Tennant's era, with the end of time, to sort of touch on that as well, with the wee things like the cloister bell and stuff, which was introduced in Logopolis. I like the combination of the Fourth Doctor and Adric. I think it works. Anthony Ainley's brilliant as the Master in this. He's really, really menacing. Tegan was a good introduction. The reintroduction of Nyssa was also decent as well, albeit probably wasn't necessary. But I also really like the soundtrack on Logopolis. Like I said, it's ominous but distinct. And the regeneration scene for me, with the flashbacks of all the companions, is brilliant. It's the best regeneration scene from the classic series. I will say the season 18 Blu-ray box set done Logopolis a world of good, with the sort of special effects. So all in, I'm going to give this 8.5 out of 10. Cheers.
8.5, yeah.
That's a respectable score, yeah. Yeah, 8.5. Nice one, Neil. Yeah, and it does have that ominous feeling to it, doesn't it?
Have you watched it with the new effects?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, they're not bad, actually. Yeah, I'm not a big fan when they do those new effects, but they're pretty good in Logopolis, I have to say.
Yeah, they're not too bad.
Especially the shrinking TARDIS looks better.
I love that small TARDIS prop, by the way. I'd love to have that.
Oh, I want it, yeah. I know.
Love that. Yeah, thank you very much, Neil. Moving on, this is Sammy from Down Under.
Hey, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, Logopolis, it's the end, but the moment has been prepared for. Tom Baker really is amazing as the Doctor. I love his alien qualities, and his bonding with Adric in this is very good. I love how he wants to measure a normal police box as part of his fixing the chameleon circuit and the service the TARDIS needs to keep going. I don't fully understand how Logopolis as a planet keeps the universe together. I feel like I missed something. Anthony only is good. Not much time to explore the character's emotions about Nyssa losing her father to the Master, Tegan's aunt getting killed by the Master, etc. I feel like I need to watch this again to understand the Logopolis bit of the plot. I give it 8 watches out of 10. See ya.
Sammy with an 8. Yeah.
8. It does take a couple of watches, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not one of the most straightforward things, mind you. It's not as confusing as some of the Key to Time stuff that we watched. I would say.
Yeah. No. I don't know.
Well, the only confusing bit really is the Watcher, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess.
But yeah, no, I totally understand, Sammy. And an 8, not too bad score.
Not too bad.
Thank you very much, Sammy. Moving on, this is Mr. Martin Arnold.
I went to do this review and now I can't get out of the room. I can't find my way out. I keep coming back in and I keep hearing this weird laughter. What's going on? Anyway, while I'm here, Logopolis is really good. It works because it's earned. You just know that something important is happening, and that's what the Watcher symbolises. He's not explained, but, well, not until the end, even then. But it just works. And I think even if you hadn't seen this before and didn't know what was happening, you would be like, this is ominous. And there's that undercurrent really underpins and sells this episode. The story is pretty straightforward. It ties in with the Space Trilogy, albeit superficially. The Master wants to destroy the universe. There's this weird planet that can fix the TARDIS. I love that. I mean, that's classic Doctor Who in a nutshell. Go to this weird, whimsical place, this magical, journey. That's what it's all about. I love it. And we meet Nyssa again. She joins. Spoke about her before. Tegan. She's an iconic companion, but she goes on to be written to just be contrarian, and it doesn't work because the Doctor's just such a fantastic character that you want to spend time with him, you want to be in the TARDIS, and she doesn't, even though it's justified because her aunt gets, bizarrely murdered, and she gets stuck in the TARDIS. So it's understandable, and Janet is great as Tegan. I think it's a real shame that that's how it turned out, but I give this a 9 out of 10. It's absolutely solid. Great episode, lovely ending sequence with the characters coming back and doing their thing. Well, not coming back, but you know what I mean. It just feels earned, and that's what makes it work. 9 out of 10. See you later.
A 9.
A 9 for Martin, yeah.
Yeah, undercurrent, that's a good word. That's a good way of describing it. It's got this really good undercurrent throughout, isn't it? This foreboding, yeah.
Yeah. And you're right as well, Martin. It does have that sort of quintessential classic Doctor Who feel about it. It's yeah. No, I read you on that one, dude. Thank you very much for your review. As always, a 9 from Martin. Very cool. Moving on, this is TARDISNet 66.
If it wasn't of Time of the Doctor, I think Logopolis will be the worst pre-generation story. As a storyline, I think it's incredibly weak for Tom Baker's final. I mean, I just get the sense that the production team just wanted to get rid of Tom, and it feels very dismissive of him. I love his last scene and the inclusion of the Watcher, but most of the rest of the story feels very dismissive. I think introducing Nyssa and Tegan as companions in the same story feels like a bad idea and makes the story feel very cluttered, and I really don't like Tegan's arrogant and moaning personality. She doesn't even react when the Doctor regenerates or when she enters the TARDIS. Her reactions are very unrealistic and unbelievable. With the exception of Survival, I've never enjoyed Anthony Ainley's Master, as he just feels like a pantomime and comical parody of Roger Delgado's Master, and he doesn't fit well with the Fourth Doctor. But until the last episode and a half, we're just having a meandering plot about the Doctor doing his daily chores, and Logopolis simply feels like the dullest planet in the entire universe, with a bunch of very boring mathematicians. I give it a 4.5 out of 10.
Crikey.
Logopolis, the boring planet.
Crikey Moses.
I like it. Oh, maybe I just like peace and quiet.
A 4.5. Wowzers.
Wow.
Appreciate your score though, dude. Yes, nice one,
Yeah.
TARDISNet. Moving on, this is Seb Lane.
Hello, Gary and Adam. I hope you're well. I'm going to get straight on with it this week. Logopolis. So I think it's a pretty good story. However, it is just that. It is a good story. You know, Tom Baker had been the Doctor for all these years, and he goes out on a little four-parter, which isn't that impressive. You compare it to the other finales in his seasons, such as, I don't know, The Invasion of Time, The Seeds of Doom, the Armageddon Factor, Sharda, which would all be brilliant exits for him, even though, you know, some of them aren't the best stories. I just feel like Tom deserved a bit more, and I know he was tired and, you know, only so many episodes were commissioned, but I just feel like if I was the writer and I was deciding how the Fourth Doctor would exit the show, I would do it a lot differently personally. But as a story, it's really good and enjoyable, and yeah, it's a bit of fun, so I'll give it that. Bye for now.
A bit of fun.
A bit of fun. Oh, Seb, I thought you'd like this one.
Yeah, I thought Seb would like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Strange, isn't it? How some stories are, you think are going to be, we've had that loads of times on the show, we think certain stories are going to be belters and they're going to be 9s and 10s, but yeah, strange. Yeah.
Did Seb score it?
No. Just
No,
said it was
no score.
yeah.
A bit of fun.
Yeah. Okay, last one. This is Joe Turner.
I like Logopolis as an episode. It's such an interesting story and a great final episode for a wonderful Doctor. The start really sets the tone of the episode wonderfully, and together with the sound of the cloister bell, we know all hell is about to break loose. It was cool seeing more of the TARDIS too. The episode does a fantastic job of building up the reveal of the Master, as in episodes 1 and 2, all you really get is the eerie atmospheric laugh of Anthony Ainley. Also, the setting of this episode constantly changes, going from the TARDIS to the 1980s, then to Logopolis, and finally the satellite. And this keeps our attention. Furthermore, we're constantly intrigued into the mystery of the Watcher, and I love how he just continues to observe them, rather sinisterly, until it's finally revealed that he is the Doctor. Lastly, you can see the production team were desperate to let Tom go out rather heroically, and he did for the most part, stopping the Master and saving reality. However, one thing that does confuse me is that Tennant survived falling from a spaceship with only a few cuts and bruises in the End of Time Part 2, whereas Tom falls off a satellite and didn't. But anyway, all in all, I love how we get to see all of his companions and foes one last time during the regeneration scene, and what a fantastic last line. It's the end, but the moment has been prepared for. So overall, I'm going to give this episode an 8 out of 10. Thank you.
An 8?
An 8. Very good point about Tennant there.
Oh, when he falls from the
smashes through
spaceship.
that window, and yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah, and falls onto the rock-hard marble floor.
Yeah, and yet...
Yeah, Tom fall. I mean, it's not a small fall, though. Still falls a fair whack, but falls onto nice padded grass.
Yeah.
Mind you, his Doctor was older than Tennant's, I suppose.
I'm going to put it down to that.
Yeah. It's another good point, Joe. You hear the cloister bell and you know all hell's about to break loose. Yeah, so thank you very much, guys, for your audio reviews. Very much appreciated, as always. Let's see what you guys are saying over on the socials, over on Twitter. Our writer Jordan Shortman said it's a brilliant story, not least because it introduces my fave companion Tegan, but there is a genuine sense of the universe coming to an end. Thanks to the script, and Tom Baker puts in a brilliant final performance. Even Adric isn't too bad. One of the best regen stories. Thank you, Jordan. Doctor Who Home. When I was 6, back in 2009... Back in 2009 when I was 6. That's sickening.
No. Terrible.
I misread in Doctor Who Adventures that the Fourth Doctor died falling over a radio in Logopolis. I was slightly disappointed when I saw how that wasn't the case. When I eventually saw it, cracking story, it hits more than it misses. Tom is great, 7.5. That wouldn't be a good way to go, would it? Tripping over a radio.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Rick Moran from the Doctor Who Appreciation Society says the success of Logopolis lies in that feeling you get. It's the end of the road. It has an atmosphere of doomed inevitability. Sarah Sutton is great as Nyssa, especially where she watches as her planet vanishes. And Ainley's Master is shown here with real menace. Tom Baker's Doctor shows us, the audience, just how scared he is of the Master, and in turn we feel that fear. A true classic, 10 out of 10.
10. Yeah,
nice one,
go Rick.
Yeah. Our other writer, Mark Donaldson, says near impenetrable guff.
What?
It feels much like the 10th Planet, that the production team just wants shot of their difficult leading man. Tom tries his best, and it's interesting to see him as doomy, gloomy version of his Doctor who's aware of his impending death. I also quite like the relationship with Adric as a scatty professor and smart-ass pupil. Tegan will get better, but the same cannot be said for Nyssa. It boggles my mind that the Master murders Vanessa and all of Traken, and everyone just shrugs it off.
Yeah, it's almost like it was... No, actually, I nearly said something bad that I won't.
He says, wouldn't happen now. But no score from Mark. I get the feeling he's not too into Logopolis. Yeah.
No, he's not. All opinions are welcome here.
Of course, yeah. Chippy T says, not often you see genuine fear in the Doctor's face, but we do here. The moment reminded me of Eccleston in Dalek. Brilliant. Great story and regen scene. Wanted to see more Doctor and Master confrontation, though. 8.5 giant satellite woks. 8.5 woks, yeah. Tom Turlow says, I'm not sure it's really any good, but it's such a seminal moment in the history of the show you can't help but be moved by it. Tom was such a dominant figure, his departure was inevitably going to be a really big deal. As a story, it falls victim to all the problems that marred the Bidmead era. In brackets, dullness, cod science, ill thought out ideas. But there's a nice tone to it. It feels like something big is going to happen, and the Watcher is a nice element, even if it doesn't make much sense. Tom's Doctor is very much my Doctor, so his end was always going to be sad. Logopolis, while not being a particularly good story, is a suitably fitting conclusion. Sadly, it was mostly downhill from here. 6 out of 10 from Tom Turlow.
6, okay.
Edward Galuli. This is an absolute classic. The mournful tone for Tom's departure is set by the music. It's also a good intro for Tegan. Nyssa turning up halfway through is random, though. The final scene is iconic. 8 watches out of 10. And lastly, Lost on Gallifrey podcast. They say Logopolis has every right to be boring, and yet somehow it's enjoyable. Not a great story, but a confident one, and one which gets the atmosphere of impending doom spot on. It gives our Tom one last great moment to go out on, one that is still sad, prepared for or not. Thank you very much, you guys, over on the Twitter. Now, Facebook, all of you guys went nuts with this one. And your reviews are really long, so I'm just going to give you the headlines. And if you guys want to read these reviews, then hop over to the Facebook page. There's a link on the website to go and view those. But Jeff Waddle says, yet more techno-babble that you'd have to be a quantum physicist to understand. And yet another story with no fun or enjoyment whatsoever.
Oh, Jeff.
Add to that the bizarre addition of The Watcher for absolutely no reason when we have a story that is not a fitting way for arguably the best and most iconic Doctor to go. Due to stories like this at the time, my interest in Doctor Who also waned as, in quote-unquote, it's just not fun anymore. And Jeff gives it a 3 out of 10.
Oh, I've just put a hammer through your TV, Jeff. Sorry.
Oh, dear, Jeff. Right, Joseph Howarth says, it's a sombre end to a Doctor that had so much life to him. That regeneration scene will never get old. I really like the idea of the Watcher and this mysterious being who follows the Doctor every step of the way. Long review, this one, and ends up giving it an 8 out of 10. Okay. Toby Coleman says it's the end, but the moment has been prepared for. Well, it was a good watch, if anything. Having heard mixed reviews on the companions, I was surprised to find them engaging. Logopolis itself was interesting. Poor Tegan, that was not the happiest way of joining the TARDIS. My main problem is that I never felt the stakes, but Tom's regen was a decent watch. 7 out of 10. Okay. A long one from Charlie here. So he basically says, beautiful regen scene with beautiful music. Everything else has a pace of slower than a garden slug, though. Perhaps the slowest story in all of Doctor Who history, joint with the two Doctors.
Have you seen Underworld?
As a regen story, it's a bit underwhelming. Anyway, he goes on to give it a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Aaron Ball says, I love the foreboding atmosphere. The Watcher brings great ideas to the plot, and the Master is brill when he is in it. Some filler, as expected, and Adric is good. In this story, he really has a respect for Tom, unlike Peter. Is that true? Don't know. Anyway, goes on to give it... has a great respect for Tom, unlike Peter.
Yeah, Peter's not a big fan of Tom.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, in that respect, I thought you meant Matthew Waterhouse, respect for Peter Davison. Sorry, yes. Yeah, he's not his biggest fan, is he? Anyway, goes on to give it 8 watches out of 10. And then lastly, Andrew Stewart, a really long review, this one, but basically says it's a great story and a great send-off for Tom. The Master is... thankfully, the Master is in this and does more in this story than in The Keeper of Traken. Goes on to give it an 8.5 and takes 0.5 off for Tegan's awful fake crying. There we go.
There we are.
And there we are. So thank you very much, guys. Do you know what, dude? This story was a lot more mixed than what I thought it was going to be. For some reason, I had in my head this was going to be at least an 8 out of 10 for most people. But there we have it. There we go.
I thought I expected a couple of middle of the road, so I'm surprised at some of the low scores, but there you go.
There we go. So that was Logopolis. Thank you very much for joining us. Next week, Bud, what are we on to for reviews?
Yeah, so another, regen story, but the start of a new era for Matt Smith. So we'll be reviewing the 11th Hour next week.
Ooh, the 11th Hour. Yes.
11th Hour, yeah. Dun, 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 dun. First time we heard that theme, we all got sick of it.
The modern classic, which is I Am the Doctor, eh? Coolio. Right, on that note, dude, I think we'll wrap there for 30... What are we on this week? Is it 309?
Yeah.
We'll wrap there for 309. Thank you so much for coming back and listening to us for another week, chatting all things Doctor Who. And in this particular case, we had not much news in a way to talk of, but we have chatted at length about Logopolis. And that brings an end to our Tom Baker month. We've gone through all of the E-Space trilogy, which has been good, and then we finished up with The Keeper of Traken and then Logopolis for Tom's final run. But like I said, we have got more Tom to come, so don't worry. We've got a dozen or so stories of his left to do, which is good. Next week, as Adam said, we're back to modern Doctor Who, and it's the first story from Matt Smith, the 11th Hour. So get your DVDs, Blu-rays, whatever watched, because we'll be asking for your thoughts and reviews as always. In the meantime, we would love to have you as a follower on whatever podcast app you get your podcasts on. Just do a search of the Big Blue Box, or there's links on the website. Make sure you follow us, so that way you don't miss a show when it lands every single Friday. And if your particular podcast app or service has the ability to leave a review, that would be awesome if you could take a minute to do that, because that helps us loads and loads. So thank you very much to our listeners that have left reviews so far. They're all very lovely, so thank you so much for that. Very much appreciated. On the website, which is bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk, you can listen to all of our previous episodes on there for free, and we also have links off to the social networks. We're on those: Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Come and give us a like and a follow. We chat Doctor Who throughout the week. We have a free Discord server as well. Links on the website. Takes 10 seconds to sign up to that. Loads of really cool Doctor Who fans over there just hanging out, chatting all things Doctor Who, which is really good. And we're on YouTube too. Links on the website. We're doing live streams at the moment on a Saturday morning, so come and get involved over there too. Also, remember to check out my co-host channel over on YouTube. It is, of course, The Geek's Handbag.
The Geek's Handbag, yeah. Go and have a look at my channel. Loads of vids on there. And I'm also on all the socials. Insta, Twitter, Facebook, the lot, but not TikTok.
No TikTok around these parts. Is that still a thing? Yeah, not around here, mate.
I'm not in that one. Not around here.
Yeah, go and check out Adam's channel. Loads of cool videos there. Get yourself a cup of tea, get comfy. Loads of cool stuff. And as Adam said, he's on the socials too, under the same name, The Geek's Handbag. Until next week, take care of yourself. My name's McGarry.
My name's Adam.
And remember,